Hello learners, welcome to this session for your program Certificate in Fashion Design. I, Dr. Divya Ojha, Academic Associate from School of Vocational Education and Training IGNOU, welcomes you all. So learners, today's session is for the program Certificate in Fashion Design, that is CFDE, and today we will be discussing the topic Introduction to Pattern Making, which is one of the block of your course of Certificate in Fashion Design program of the course 2, that is BFDI 072 Basics of Pattern Making and Sewing. So let me brief about this particular Certificate in Fashion Design program, that is CFDE. So this particular certificate program in fashion design, it is a 16 credit program which comprises of 4 courses. So course 1, it is BFDI 071 Fundamentals of Fashion Design. Course 2 is BFDI 072 Basics of Pattern Making and Sewing, on which we will be discussing today. Course 3 is BFDI 073 Introduction to Fashion Industry, and course 4 is BFD 074 Communication and Entrepreneurship. So all these 4 courses you have to study in this particular 6-month program Certificate in Fashion Design. So as you are already enrolled and you have gone through the program guide and all the structures of this program, you might be aware about the program and the courses. So the total 16 credit and each course is of 4 credit. So in today's session we will be discussing on course 2, that is Basics of Pattern Making and Sewing, which is one of the important and skill-based course of this particular CFDE program. So let us see what all blocks and units are there in this particular course, Basics of Pattern Making and Sewing. When you see your study material, you will find that this course BFDI 072 Basics of Pattern Making and Sewing, there are 2 blocks and 1 practical workbook. So out of total 4 credits that I said that this is a 4 credit course, so 2 credit is for the theory and 2 credit is for the practical, as it is a skill based and you have to do lots of hands-on in this particular course. So 2 credit is given for the practical and 2 credit is for theory. So in this particular course you will see and you have to study 2 blocks and 1 practical workbook, in which there are different activities are assigned, which is based on the theories which you will study in the 2 blocks. So block 1 is about Introduction to Pattern Making, and block 2 is Sewing Techniques, and then practical workbook which is based on pattern making and sewing practices which you have studied in the theory part of this particular course. And total 12 activities are given in your practical workbook which you have to study, and there are steps by step is given of each activity that you can follow and perform the hands-on. So today we will be focusing on the block 1, which is Introduction to Pattern Making. So this block, Introduction to Pattern Making, you will see that you have to study 4 units. Unit 1 is about methods of pattern making. Unit 2 is about tools for pattern making. Unit 3 is body measurement, and Unit 4 is pattern information and marking. So all these 4 units you have to study in this particular block 1, Introduction to Pattern Making. So let us start with the Unit 1, that is method of pattern making. When you see your study material, the first unit of this particular course and the block 1 is methods of pattern making, which is very important for you to understand, because being a student of design, you should know, as you have taken this particular program with the charm that you will construct your garment. So this particular unit will make you aware what are different methods of pattern making, how you will construct your garment. So we expect that after going through this unit, you will define and identify the importance of pattern making. You will be able to explain and differentiate between various terms used in pattern making, and understand and differentiate between drafting, flat pattern making, and draping. So these are different learning outcomes that you will get from this particular unit, methods of pattern making. So now, as this particular unit is named as methods of pattern making, but first let us understand what is pattern. So what is pattern? It is very important to understand, and it is one of the important aspect in the garment construction. So pattern making is a system of plotting the body measurement on a flat surface, or we can say pattern making is the technique of shaping a flat piece of fabric to the fit on the curves and the contours of the human figure. So first thing which we have in the process of making a garment is a flat piece of a flat surface of a fabric. So converting that flat piece of fabric into the design or the garment, it is said as the pattern making. And the pattern is the template which is made on paper, from which the part of garment are traced onto fabric before cutting out and assembling. Like we discussed that the pattern making is the plotting of the body measurement on the flat surface, whether it is the paper or the garment or the fabric directly. So the pattern making is the template which is made on the paper using the body measurement of each and every part. Like for the sleeve, we take the different measurement. For the upper bodies and for the lower skirt, we take the different measurement, and we prepare the template or the pattern separately for each part of the garment. So patterns are made for every part of the garment separately, and pattern making is a highly skilled technique which calls for the technical ability, design interpretation, and the practical understanding of the garment construction. Why it is said as a technical ability? Because there are different technical terms and the process which we follow for the making of a pattern. So one who is going to make a pattern for a garment or for a particular design, he or she should be very much aware about all the process which we have to follow, starting from taking the body measurement and plotting that measurement according to the design on the piece of paper. So this is what pattern means, that converting the body measurement on a flat piece of paper for making the template which will be used for cutting the fabric for the garment construction. Then there are different methods we can use for making the pattern. Basically, there are 3 methods we use to develop the pattern. First is the drafting method. Drafting is the very basic and the common method we use, as we all once or a while we go for a for a stitching purpose to a tailor's place. So what tailors do, he or she takes the measurement, body measurement, or they directly transfer that measurement on the piece of fabric, or they might use the paper. So drafting is the two-dimensional system of drawing the pattern based on body measurement, and drafting can be done directly on the fabric or can be used to prepare the basic blocks which are adopted to create various designs. So drafting is the first and the basic point or the method of for creating the pattern. Second is the flat pattern making, which is very important, and it creates the pattern. The flat pattern making creates the pattern by making necessary changes in the already created basic blocks as per the design detail. Suppose we have taken a body measurement and we transferred that measurement on a piece of paper using following the design which we have created for the garment, and that particular plotting of the body measurement according to the design on the paper, we create the basic block. Basic block means that we have created a basic template using a standard measurement or a body measurement to create the final piece of pattern. So flat pattern making, in the process, first we create the pattern or the block on the paper, and that block we have to basic block we have to use for creating the final pattern on the fabric. So we, using that particular flat pattern making method, we can develop different kinds of yokes, collar, sleeve, skirt. Design can be created using the basic sloper or the basic block. So using that basic block or the basic pattern or the template which we have developed, we can create a number of design on the pattern. Many designs can be created by simply relocating the dart or by converting the dart into various forms such as gathers, pleats, princess panel, etc. So there is a very much advantages in the using of the method flat pattern making, that we can use that one basic block to create different designs. We can create the different styles of yokes, we can create different styles of collars or the neckline, or we can have the space to convert that darts which are on the upper body's block, and that we can convert into different pleats or the gathers to create different designs. So this is how we create the flat pattern making. Then the main and the one important advantages of this particular technique, that is flat pattern making, is that the newly developed designers pattern retain the same of the original basic pattern. It means that if we have created one basic block of following the standard body measurement, and we can use that particular block to create different designs with different manipulations in that particular block without disturbing that one basic or the standard block which we have developed. Another important advantages of using the flat pattern making is grading in different sizes can be done very easily by the flat pattern technique. Suppose we have developed a basic sloper or a block of a 34 size for the female garment, and using that particular block of a 34 or a 32 size, we want to increase or decrease the size, we can do it very easily. We do not have to create a new pattern or a new block with the other measurement. So it is very benefit with this particular method flat pattern making, that we can use the one basic block and we can do the grading of number of sizes using that particular block. Another advantage of this flat pattern making, it saves time and energy to the otherwise wasted in making pattern of different sizes. As right now we discussed that instead of making a number of blocks of different sizes, we can use one particular block to create the grading of different sizes. And lastly, it is very useful for the mass production of garment as it based on the standard measurement. Like so, for this industrial purpose, or when we have the garment production at a mass level or the mass production, we use this particular flat pattern making because they develop one basic sloper using the standard body measurement, and they do the grading using that particular block only. Then this was about the flat pattern making. Then the third method of flat constructing or developing a pattern is the draping method. So draping is one of the very creative method for the pattern development. Draping is a three-dimensional method. So three-dimensional method because it is directly we use the dress form to create the pattern. So it is a three-dimensional method for preparing a pattern, and it is an artistic approach in which the person develops a pattern by fitting clothes to the curves of the dress form. Like we have the dress form or the mannequins or the dummy, and we use the fabric, just we have the fabric and we have the design, and we directly start putting the fabric on the dress form according to the design which we have. So in this method, one has the pleasure of seeing how the garment will look as the pattern develop. Like it is very creative, and we feel happy to see how our design is coming out. So the starting point when you put the fabric on the dress form according to the design or the sketch which you have, you start draping, and at the same time you can see how your design is coming out. So this is one of the very important method of creating the pattern. So you can directly put the fabric and drape the design and cut it, and then you can stitch, or you can develop the pattern from that also. Then this is the image how you can how the draping method is being applied on the dress form, and how you can see in the final image how the design is coming out. Then the key features of the draping method are like, first, the draping begins with the muslin cloth. Muslin is a type of cotton fabric which we use for the pattern making and making the test fit garments in the design for the designing purpose. Muslin is blocked, ironed, and the basic landmarks are marked before starting. Like before putting the fabric on the dress form, we use the muslin cloth, we take it, we blocked, like we do the scouring and all, we do the ironing, we have to do the basic landmarks on the of that particular fabric before putting on the dress form. Draping helps to see the fit and fall of the garment at the first stage itself. Like as you start putting the fabric on the dress form, you can see the fit and fall of the garment at the first stage itself. Draping allows for easy experimentation with neckline, collars, yoke, and sleeve. Like suppose you have some different style of neckline in the sketch which you are using for constructing the garment or developing the pattern, and as you start draping the fabric on the dress form and you feel that this particular neckline is not coming out good, so at that particular stage you can change the style of the neckline or the sleeve or the collar which you are using. It is also easier to create unconventional designs with draping rather than flat pattern making. So there are some different unconventional type of designs are there which is not possible to develop using the flat pattern making. So At that point, we use the draping method to develop that all unconventional designs. Many times in the fashion shows, we see different unconventional designs and we feel that how this particular design pattern has been developed. So this method, by using the draping method, the designer has created that particular unconventional design. Then draping is a good technique to develop new idea, create new silhouettes. It is also help to see proportion, fit, balance and design features directly on the dress form. So as soon we are putting the fabric and according to the design, we can see the fit and the proportion of the design which is coming out, and we can manipulate or the change at that particular time. So these are some basic information about the different methods of pattern development that you can study in detail in your study material. Then the second unit of this particular block is tools for pattern making, which is very important to understand, because as we right now understand about the different methods of pattern making. So if you are not aware about different tools which we have to use in developing a pattern or stitching of the garment, how you will create the design. So it is very important to understand different tools for pattern making. So after going through this unit, you will be able to state and explain the fabric terms related to pattern cutting. You will be able to identify and describe tools used in pattern making. So this particular unit will make you aware about different tools which you have to use for pattern making, and different terminologies which is very important for you to understand, which is related to the pattern making and designing, so that you can easily work in the industry or the production houses. If you are not aware about the different technical terms and the terminologies and the tools, you will not be able to work properly in the like industries or the production departments. So it is very important to understand different terminologies which are used in the pattern making. It is very important to understand and be able to verse with the terminologies to understand it very properly. You must have studied some of these terms and you might be aware with it, and these terms are very useful for starting the course and further laying and cutting of the pattern on the fabric. Then different terminologies. What are terminologies? Common terminologies or the terms which you will come across every time when you are using or developing the pattern is the first is the pattern making, that right now we discussed about the pattern making. So pattern making, as we discussed, it is a system of making patterns, blocks using body measurements, and it can be done either by two-dimensional method, that is drafting, or by means of draping, which is a three-dimensional method, as right now we discussed. Second terminologies, it is drafting or the flat pattern making that we discussed right now. Then it is draping. Draping is the three-dimensional method of pattern making, which we have discussed. Another term which you will come across is the muslin, which we have also used in the first unit when we were discussing. Muslin, it is a starched and untreated cotton fabric. It is a plain weave fabric available in different weights. It is a low cost and is used for making test fit and also for the draping. Test fit are commonly known as the toils and are important step in the garment construction. So muslin fabric is very important for you to understand and use, because at every time when you are using or when you are following the pattern making or making samples of any seams or the stitches, you should use the muslin fabric only. So as we discussed that muslin fabric is of different weights. So lightweight muslin we use for the soft drapes when we want the design is the demand of the design is that it is very flowy design, so we can use the lightweight muslin fabric. Medium weight muslin fabric used for draping and the test fit basic patterns. Heavyweight muslins, it can be used for testing tailored garments like suits and the jacket. So there are different weights that you can use. Apart from this, the different terms is selvage. Selvage means the edge or the narrow firmly woven strip on the side of the fabric. Grain it is the direction of the yarns on the woven or the knitted fabric. So these are different terminologies that you in the detail you can study in your study material. Then different tools which you will be needing for the development of pattern, such as pencil, fabric marking pencils, fabric marking pens, tailored chalks, erasers, rulers, pattern masters, L scale, all these that you will be needing. So learners, this in the brief we discussed about the unit 1 and unit 2 of this particular block 1, that is introduction to pattern making of course 2, basics of pattern making and sewing. In next session we will discuss about the unit 3 and 4 of this particular block. If you have any query regarding these two units, you can mail us on cfde@ignou.ac.in. Hope this session was beneficial for you. Thank you.